You're listening to Big World Network.
Babes in Spyland, The Truth Hurts, Episode 1. Written and read by Joanne Schneider. For now, your name will be Agent Smith, Super Secret Supervisor Mud said, handing over a shiny badge with the letters SSA looming over what looked like a cartoon man with a finger to his lips. Agent Smith? She asked, taking the badge and wondering what she'd gotten herself into. The supervisor turned and started down the hall. Yes. Your old name means nothing here, and until your new name surfaces, you will be known as Agent Smith. She, Agent Smith, tried to keep her eyebrows from scrunching together as she hurried to catch up and issued the proper response. Yes, ma'am. The supervisor flinched, her long face screwing up into a look of displeasure. Mud will do. Agent Smith nodded. New jobs were always so much fun. She followed Supervisor Mud down a bleak, bland hall. So far, every hall they'd come through looked exactly the same. Beige walls, white ceilings, and dull, worn carpet. Although up ahead she saw that the carpet changed color from pale brown to baby blue with a light swirling pattern. Office area, Mud said, waving her hand as they passed over the color change. Agent Smith leaned her head away from the gesture. Everything about Supervisor Mud said tall, including long arms, long legs, and long brown hair. It didn't help that Agent Smith had to stand up straight to get to the 5'4" mark. That's why she usually wore heels. That, and they made her legs look fantastic. The two men in suits coming down the hall seemed to think so. Agent Smith smiled as they passed, knowing her red lipstick was in perfect order. Mud shook her head. I'm on a tight schedule. Your partner should be in her office. I will make introductions and give the two of you your first assignment. Agent Smith nodded. They passed several doors that bore tarnished brass nameplates engraved with names like Black Turtle, Water Sprite, and Bedhead. Bedhead? What was this, the Department of Bad Names? Her befuddlement left her distracted, so when Supervisor Mud stopped in her tracks, Agent Smith almost plowed right into her. Gesturing at the nearest door, Mud's thin lips turned up into what could only loosely be called a smile. This is your office. Oh, Agent Smith said with a smile of her own, taking a nonchalant step back. Great! A yellow post-it note was stuck over the nameplate on this door and fluttered as Mud knocked. Scrawled in thick, black lines, the word "You are here" sat over a black arrow pointing at the floor. The remainder of the post-it was covered with a grinning Cyclops smiley face. They waited. Agent Smith tried to find something beyond the arrow to stare at. But the silence went on just long enough to make her uncomfortable. It took everything she had to resist shifting her weight and sniffing. A scowl creased Mud's face, and her eyebrows knit together. She knocked again, this time with more gusto. The sound of jogging feet came through the wood. The door swung open part way, revealing a tall, muscular woman with olive skin and long, dark hair pulled back into a ponytail. "Oh, hey, Mud," the woman said with a bright smile. "Amphibian Queen," the supervisor said stiffly. "Is Milkshakes here? I tried calling, but no one answered." Agent Amphibian Queen smiled and turned her eyes on Agent Smith. "Is this our newbie?" "Agent Smith," Mud said, staring at Amphibian Queen. "Is Milkshakes in?" "She's, Amphibian Queen didn't get to finish. The theme song from Implausible Assignment started to play. "Blast," Mud said, fishing around in her suit jacket pocket. She came up empty-handed and tried the other side. This time she emerged with an ancient cell phone. Mud studied the screen for a moment. "I have to take this," she said, jerking her head toward Amphibian Queen. "Find Milkshakes, deliver Agent Smith, and give her this." An envelope appeared in Mud's hand. Amphibian Queen took it. Mud gave Agent Smith a nod and stepped away, pressing the answer button on the phone. "Mud here." Agent Smith watched Mud hurry back down the hall, before turning her attention back to the door. "Smith?" Amphibian Queen raised her eyebrows. Agent Smith shrugged. "I guess." "You would think they could come up with something more original." Amphibian Queen stepped back and motioned Agent Smith inside. "Come on, before Mud finds her way back here." Agent Smith moved through the door just before Amphibian Queen shut it behind them. Inside, The place looked like a disaster. 3 of 4 desks groaned under the weight of piles and piles of paper, books, boulders which cascaded down onto the floor in places, food containers, boxes, and a few things she couldn't identify. "Hurry up, she's in back," Amphibian Queen waved Agent Smith forward again. Still following, like a mouse in a maze, she kept well clear of the piles that loomed over the aisles. "Through here," Amphibian Queen said. She shoved a stack of papers on the floor with her foot, which miraculously stayed together instead of exploding everywhere. Part of a bookshelf shuddered, shifted back, and then rolled to the side. Super secret agency? Hidden doors? Was this place for real? Agent Smith leaned in to get a better look. "Who was it?" a voice asked. "Mud." Amphibian Queen walked through the door. "She's gone. Are you finished yet?" "Almost." "Come on," Amphibian Queen said to Agent Smith. "Stay close." Stay close? Should she expect an attack from a tower of papers? As she entered, she heard a new voice say, "Gun." "Gun." "Oh, look out," Amphibian Queen said, grabbing Agent Smith and dragging her to the floor. She kicked on the wall and the door snapped shut. "Cover your ears." Agent Smith did so. The deafening sound of a gun being fired in a confined space, barely muffled by her hands, rattled her eyeballs inside her skull. Jerking around, weapon suddenly in her hand, Agent Smith searched for the owner of the gun. The room looked just as big as the office outside. But instead of desks, it held a table, a small kitchenette, a nasty-colored but poofy gold couch, a couple of chairs, and 2 flat-screen TVs mounted to the wall. She felt her jaw hinge open as her eyes settled on a pair of women gathered around a table strewn with cooking and mixing equipment. One of the women, the darker of the two, gave the smoking gun back to a woman with long blonde hair and, well, a rack that guys would drool over even if it was housed in a sweatshirt. At least the name Milkshakes made sense. "Did you get it?" Amphibian Queen asked, pulling her fingers out of her ears. The darker woman nodded, waving her hand above the stainless steel bowl as if coaxing the smell out of it. Her dark, short, spiky hair flopped in front of one eye. The blonde shook her head. "I still say the secret ingredient isn't gunpowder, it's the fact that they know you lick your fingers and stick them back in while you're blending." "Whatever!" Amphibian Queen stood. Agent Smith followed suit, gun half raised. "Guys," Agent Amphibian Queen said, "this is our newbie, Agent Smith." Both sets of eyes swiveled at them. "Agent Smith?" the blonde asked, raising her eyebrows. "Seriously?" Amphibian Queen shrugged. "This is Mud we're talking about." "True." The shorter, darker woman stepped forward and pointed. "You're probably not going to need that." Agent Smith blinked and lowered her gun. "Sorry." "I'm Agent Milkshakes," the woman said, holding out a hand and grinning. "Wait." Agent Smith's eyes went to the buxom blonde and then back to the darker woman again as she shook the offered hand. "You're Milkshakes?" "Yep. The names kind of come with the territory." Milkshakes reached behind her, snatched up the stainless steel bowl, and began pouring the chocolate-colored contents into mugs. She finished and, with a grin, handed them out. "Milkshakes." Agent Smith took the mug. The other two sipped the runny edges out first, both of them smiling. "Ah," Amphibian Queen said. "Yum," the blonde said, licking her lips. "Go on," Milkshake said, still grinning. "Try it. I'm dying for an unbiased opinion." She eyed Milkshakes warily. The other woman stood just a little taller than she did, and her hazel eyes glittered with mischief. "Gunpowder milkshake?" she asked. "Chocolate gunpowder," Milkshakes corrected, tipping back her head and drinking some of her own. The small, paranoid voice that always resided in Agent Smith's head warned her not to drink it, but she shrugged it off. She would probably live through any hazing they did here. Better to get it over with fast. So she raised her glass and took a sip. She said, rolling the liquid around in her mouth for a second before swallowing and savoring the flavor. "That is good." Milkshake's smile widened. The other two laughed. "This is my partner," Amphibian Queen said. "Agent Bunnynose, one of our best hand-to-hand combat experts." The blonde, Bunnynose, said, "And this is Amphibian Queen, best party thrower this side of the pond." They looked at each other and laughed. An inside joke, maybe. Bunnynose jerked her head toward Agent Smith's gun. "You're quick with that. Where were you before this?" She shrugged. "Mostly undercover work. Terrorist cells, prisoner guilds, and ugly sweater shows." The other 3 women flinched at that last one. Milkshakes raised her glass and said, "You have our sympathy." "Thanks." Agent Smith found the camaraderie between the 3 women both comforting and disconcerting. Would she mess it up? Would she fit in? Would they lock her back here and make her do all of their paperwork for a month? And what kind of women made milkshakes with gunpowder? Amphibian Queen handed the envelope Mud had given her to Milkshakes. "Ah," Milkshakes said, licking the mustache of ice cream from her top lip. "First orders." She shoved the envelope at Agent Smith. "You have to do the honors." Agent Smith took it and looked at her new co-workers, one at a time. "Better do it fast," Milkshake said. "They seem to get worse the longer you let them sit." Agent Smith looked down. She felt as if opening it would be sealing her fate to this crazy, mad place. Then again, maybe a little crazy was just what she needed. Sticking her finger under the lip, she ripped the top of the envelope open. A single piece of plain copy paper was folded neatly inside. She pulled it out and opened it to find 3 words scrawled in thick black lines. "Mad Scientist Patrol," she read aloud. Milkshake scowled. Agent Amphibian Queen almost snorted ice cream out her nose. Bunny Nose shook her head and gave Agent Smith a pat on the shoulder. "Good luck with that."
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on bigworldnetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.